We've only got a couple of days before the free agency chaos begins. Last couple of chances here to take a bunch of the top free agents, and we're going to rank them into tiers. Let's get producer Brandon Combs in here to delegate and explain the rest. Combs, what kind of tiers are we working with here? What are we putting these guys into?
All right, so I developed 4 tiers. Tier 1 is great. They'd be a final piece for a team that is a player away from winning a championship, player in their position, obviously. Tier 2 is good, which would be a good addition, but they need to add a little bit more around that player. Tier 3 is meh. He's okay, but which version of him are you getting? And Tier 4 is no. If you put him on my roster, I'm out.
All right.
So here we go. We're gonna start with who some people have him ranked as the number 1 free agent in the NFL, and that is quarterback Malik Willis. Which tier would you put Malik Willis in, Pat?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think I won't speak for Brad. I'll let Brad speak, but I know that on the show we've spoken pretty highly here of Malik Willis, and I said that he's somebody that I'd rather have over Kyler Murray if I'm just about like any team in the NFL. I don't care what your situation is. I don't care if you're the Dolphins or the Cardinals and you're going into a rebuild mode. I don't care if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you're a playoff team, outside of the quarterback position. I think Malik Willis is going to be really damn good. I still don't, he's not in tier 1. I'm going to put him in tier 2. And honestly, I kind of debated whether or not he's tier 2 or tier 3, because like you said, tier 3 is he's okay, but which version of him are you getting? And I think that's fair. Malik Willis has really never been a full-time starter. He started a couple games in Tennessee. We saw him start 4 games over the last 2 years when Jordan Love was out. Now, he was great. And now he's going to be a full-time starter, and we've seen reports that $30 million is the range he's going to get paid. I'll put him in tier 2. He's good. He's a good addition. He obviously needs more around him. This isn't, we're not getting a top 10 quarterback hitting the free agency market. That's very rare nowadays. He's proven, though, in the limited times he's been a starter over the last couple of seasons, that he can not only game manage to wins, but he can win some freaking games on his own. Again, that game against Chicago coming in for Jordan Love, he was awesome. He went 2-0 in the 2024 season when Jordan Love went down for a couple of games after he got hurt in the Brazil game against the Eagles. So I'll put Malik Willis in tier 2. I think he is the best free agent quarterback available, barring Aaron Rodgers not reuniting with the Steelers.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go to. Tier 2 for me. He's good. I mean, he is not top of the line by any stretch of the imagination, and he may command $30 million a year, which is outrageous. But I mean, that's the going rate right now in a market deprived of really top quality passers. And you could say the same for the NFL draft outside of Fernando Mendoza and maybe Ty Simpson as well. But what Malik Willis now brings to the table, very different quarterback than what we saw with the Titans. The couple of games that we played with the Packers this year, he became more accurate. He was able to hone his skills and really dive into his duality in terms of the overall craft that he brings. A guy that obviously can read, react, tuck, and run, and do so with some explosivity and get you 30, 40, 50 rushing yards in a game, and now also throw some lasers in tight windows and situations. So is he going to be a top 15 quarterback? If we're talking fantasy, yes, because of the ability to run and throw. Is he going to be a top 15 quarterback overall in the NFL? I think that is debatable. That's why it doesn't qualify as great, but it definitely qualifies as good as long as he has adequate weapons like he had in Green Bay to throw the rock to.
Yeah, look, if I'm just going off the player without knowing where he's at, he's in tier 3 for me. He's mad. He's okay, but which version of him are you getting? Because we've seen this before with backup quarterbacks where they come into a situation and they're a different style quarterback than the starter, and they bring a different element to that offense. They look a little bit better than what they are, and then they get a big contract, and all of a sudden we're surprised when they're not as good as they were when they came in as the backup. So for me, he's mad. He's okay, but which version of him are you getting? Especially if he ends up in a place like Arizona, or if he ends up in a place like Miami. If he ends up in a place like Minnesota, he could jump to tier 1 for me. I will say that.
Well, Justin Jefferson helps.
All right. Yep, yeah. Justin Jefferson.
Well, hold on. You
and
can't
Kevin
tell me
O'Connell coaching you.
You can't tell me he's tier 3, but if he goes to the Vikings, he's tier 1. You kind of have
Why
to
not?
label
There's
him.
plenty of places where you can go to a situation that jumps your stock. It's the same thing when you look at the Bears defense a couple years ago, right? The Bears defense was not very good 2 years ago. And then they acquired an edge rusher in Montez Sweat, who was an elite edge rusher at the time. And all of a sudden that defense the rest of the season blew up because of one player, because it created a different element. If you put him in that scenario, you put him with all of the weapons they have in Minnesota, plus that coach and Kevin O'Connell, he's absolutely a completely different player because of the system that he's going to, as opposed if he were to go to Arizona or Miami where there's just not much around him, and he would have to play Superman, basically.
Well, also, okay, you know, if you put Patrick Mahomes in Miami, are they even a playoff team? If you put Patrick Mahomes on the Seahawks, then yes, obviously,
Yes.
then they're a Super Bowl team.
If you put Patrick Mahomes in Miami, they're a playoff team, yes.
Really? I disagree with
Yes.
that.
Okay.
You get my point.
I mean, they got
I
a
think
quarterback that could throw a forward pass. What do you mean?
Is the point of this
They didn't have that
exercise we're putting them in tiers, hopefully irregardless
I put
of
him
what
in a
team
tier.
they're going?
I put him in a tier. I put him in tier 3. I said, but if he ended up on Minnesota, he could jump to tier 1. That's all. Just like you do whenever I give you a list, a top 5 list, and you've got 5 people tied at 5A, 5B, and 5C.
That's not true. I had 2 people. I had Vrabel and Mike McDonald both
Every
tied
time.
for 5th. I had 2.
The time before that, we did a top 5. You had 7 people on your list.
All right, move on.
Exactly. All right. Let's go. Let's go wide receiver here. Let's go Tyreek Hill. Which tier would Tyreek Hill be in, Brad?
Tier 4. No. If you put him on my roster, then I'm officially out. Look, a ton of baggage, off the field issues. Even when he was healthy at times last year, he would get like nicks and scrapes in the game and just pull himself out and not return. It's just highly unreliable, highly undependable, rather suspect. I still got elite speed. There's no question about it. I think he could still, if he could really focus on football and keep himself mentally in the right place, could maybe get back to being a top 20 wide receiver in this league. I just don't trust he can. So I'm out.
Damn, I was hoping to go first there because, yeah, I had a feeling Brad was going to put him in tier 4. He's in tier 4 for me as well. I'm out. I mean, again, that's questionable if he even has elite speed now, coming off of that gruesome leg injury where he tore up a bunch of ligaments in his knee. And like Brad mentioned, all the off the field stuff, like he's not going to be a number 1 receiver. He's basically Odell Beckham at this point. Let's be honest. That's what he is. Odell Beckham used to be one of the best receivers in the game. Tyreek Hill used to be one of the best receivers in this game. I don't even know how much interest he's going to get this offseason. He might be begging teams to sign him come July or August.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm a no. If you put him on my roster, I'm out. I do not want Tyreek Hill anywhere near my clubhouse, my wife, my daughter. I don't want no Tyreek Hill in my clubhouse. All right, let's go with another wide receiver. Let's go Mike Evans. Which tier is Mike Evans in, Pat?
Oh, man. Okay, out of respect for a guy that's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer that tied Jerry Rice's record of 11 straight seasons of 1,000 yards or more and probably would have continued that streak this year if not for the broken collarbone that cost him 75% of the season, I'm putting Mike Evans in tier 2. You know, and again, he's another. I feel like the conversation around Mike Evans this season is like a guy that's 40. He's also 32. He's the same age as Tyreek Hill. And again, 11 straight years of 1,000 receiving yards. Now, I know that the production started to dip a little bit last year, but then he only played 14 games. He played 14 games in 2024 and still got 1,000 yards. He needed the last game to get it, but he did it in 14 games. Like Mike Evans, yes, he's not tier 1. He's not an elite number 1 receiver now that's going to put you over the top. He would need a solid receiver and or a solid tight end to be able to throw to as well. Like he's not going to be getting Jackson Smith and Jigba targets, at 8-9 catches a game. He's still a very good number one receiver. And so I'm putting Mike Evans in tier 2. He's not a guy that you add him and he puts you over the top, but you add Mike Evans, you got a good first ballot Hall of Fame receiver that I think still has at least 2 to 3 more seasons of really good production.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm going to go tier 2 as well. He can still stretch the field more than adequately. He was top 15 average at the target among all eligible wide receivers last season. He's also a guy that's reliable in red zone situations. Long drink, great tacky hands. The separation skills, not at the elite level they once were, but he still get the job done. Honestly, I think he's still a good fit for Buffalo if they have the means to bring him in. I know they made the trade today for DJ Moore, but I think they need a longer weapon that's like a premium version of Keon Coleman. Even though he's a little bit advanced in age, he's still exactly that guy. And if he can, catch 60 balls, 850 yards, 6 to 8 touchdowns for like Josh Allen in that offense, that, to me, alongside DJ Moore, to go along with Khalil Shakir and also Dalton Kincaid, those are the missing pieces that an organization needs to get over the top and maybe vie for a Super Bowl. So that's just one example of a great landing spot for Mike Evans. Tier 2 for me.
Yeah, I think that all the reasons that you guys both mentioned is the reason why I have him in tier 1. I think that he could be a guy that would be the final piece. Like, if you are a wide receiver, if Buffalo went out right now and added Mike Evans to their roster, I think Buffalo's the favorite to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl next year. And Mike Evans puts you over the top because of how good he still is. Look, I know he's 32 years old, but like we just mentioned, all the straight years of 1,000 yards receiving, right? And he still would have done that again this year if it wasn't for the collarbone. This guy is still at the top of his game. He can still stretch the field as well as anybody. That's why I think he could be the final piece for a team that is just one wide receiver away from being a Super Bowl contender.
Monty made a good comment. Monty made a good comment in the chat. He said Mike Evans can be what Devontae Adams is to the Rams, elite red zone target. And I agree. I mean, Devontae Adams had, 15 touchdowns this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, but he's also a guy that could be a deep threat for you, too. That's the thing. Like, Mike Evans is so universal. I don't know. I think he might be the best wide receiver on the market, if you ask me. All right. Let's go to an edge rusher. Let's go Haason Reddick. This guy with a different past. Hasn't really, played up to the potential he did a couple years ago with the Eagles, but I think he's still got it. Brad, where are you going with Haason Reddick?
Does he really still got it? That's the question. I'm going to just go May. Honestly, that's the feeling I get immediately from him. A guy that's 31 years old. I think he's got to actually be, this is age 32 season from him. Injury-ridden past. I know he can bring a lot to the table when he's on the field. This past year, just looking at some of the stats, 2.5 sacks, May. Number 18 in total run stuffs, a little bit better in that capacity. Number 50 in tackles for loss, outside the top 80 in QB pressures. Yeah, I don't buy him as an elite guy. I don't think he's like a game changer, difference maker. He played 13 games, was effective on occasion, but you're not getting a whole lot of consistency. So, it's tier 3 for me. Just meh.
I think that's given Haason Reddick too much respect. I'm putting him in tier 4. I mean, I saw how it played out with the Jets last year. They traded for him, and then he basically tried to sit out, ended up only playing 10 games, and had 1 sack. It was a disaster. Then goes to Tampa Bay this year, plays 13 games, 2.5 sacks. So this is a guy that had double-digit sacks 4 years in a row, was a monster for the Eagles, and now he's a shell of himself already, and he's 31 years old. He's tier 4. I mean, if you sign Haason Reddick, and again, this all comes down to value. What are you signing him for? Is it $5 million a year? But just the player alone, no thanks. I'm out on Haason Reddick.
I completely agree. Look, this is a guy who over the last 2 seasons has just hopped teams because nobody wants him. Nobody wants him around. He's a guy who in the clubhouse thinks he's better than what he is. He's not the same shell of himself. I don't want him anywhere near my locker room. So I put him in tier 4 as well. I agree with Pat. All right. Let's go to another edge rusher. Let's go to Trey Hendrickson. Edge Trey Hendrickson. Pat, what tier would you put Trey in?
Yeah, I'd put him in tier 2. I don't think he's the missing piece for a Super Bowl team. And Trey Hendrickson, again, to give him his respect, is a guy that led the NFL in sacks in the 2 years combined leading up to this year. 17 and a half in 2023. Another 17 and a half sacks in 2024. Then they had the very public, brutal contract dispute, which is probably the fault of the Cincinnati Bengals because they never do right by their players because they're terrible ownership with a terrible front office. And then he plays and he gets hurt. Now, again, if Cincinnati was still in it, would Trey Hendrickson probably have played more? Knowing he was going to be a free agent, would he have probably gutted through an injury? Probably. That being said, when he was on the field, he wasn't that good. He had 4 sacks, all of which came in the first 5 games, and then none in the final 2 games of the season that he played in. So now all of a sudden you got a guy that's 31. He's going to be 32 in the middle of the season. I think the durability is going to be a big issue. A guy that you're probably going to have to sub in and sub out. He's not going to be able to play 80 to 90% of the snaps. And so I'll put him in tier 2. I don't think he's a top 5 pass rusher. I think he's at best like the 10th best pass rusher in football. Coming off of this down season that was injury filled. So I'll put Trey Hendrickson in tier 2. He's probably still going to get 25 million plus per year, but he's not a Micah Parsons. Like, you trade for him, you're a Super Bowl contender like the Packers were before Micah Parsons got hurt.
Yeah, and I'm also tier 2 because he's not like the Max Crosby type. Like, he can obviously blitz the pocket, really ratchet up the pressure. 2 years ago, again, 17 and a half sacks. He was also number 1 in quarterback pressures, tackles for loss at number 2. But he is not an elite run stuffer like Max Crosby is. Again, case in point, go back 2 years ago, he was number 58 in run stuff. So that is a shortcoming of him. He is more of a collapse of pocket kind of specialist, has enormous value. I'm not discounting that by any stretch of the imagination, but he's not complete as a defender. So that would be tier 1 qualification. The fact that he, kind of struggles in one area, I got to make him tier 2. So good, not great.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. He's tier 2. And for all the reasons that you guys mentioned, look, I don't think he's a game changer. He's not Max Crosby. He's not Micah Parsons, who the Packers still are not a Super Bowl contender because Micah Parsons doesn't play quarterback. But yeah, no, I do not believe that Trey Hendrickson is a guy that makes you a Super Bowl contender if you add him to your roster. All right, let's go one more. A guy that you guys, a position that you guys so vehemently dismissed yesterday and said nobody cares about the offensive lineman. Let's go with a center. Let's go Tyler Linderbaum. Brad, where are you at with Tyler Linderbaum?
Great. We're talking offensive line. I don't care. Good. There you go. There's the answer. Final answer. Can we move on?
So what tier did you put him in?
The disrespect.
I put him in 2. He's good.
Yeah, I mean, again, Combs, he's probably the best. He's top 3 center in football. He's the best offensive lineman on the market. And for a center that's saying something, you can't tell me that you add a center to your team and that's a final piece for a team that's a player away. So I love the big men, and Mark Schlereth, we'd be having to stop him from strangling us through the screens if he was on with us right now. Cause we're, just the disrespect about talking about an offensive lineman like this, but he's tier 2. He's a good player. He's the best offensive lineman on the market. Like I said, for a center, he's probably going to get close to $20 million a year. Yeah. He's one of the best linemen in football. He's tier 2. You can't tell me you had a center and you're a player away. Like that was the player away.
Mark Schlereth would strangle you two. And here's the reason why offensive linemen absolutely do matter, especially at center. Because if you're adding a center of this caliber, a top 3 center in the game, a veteran center in the game, to a team that has a young quarterback, the value of a veteran center with a young quarterback is absolutely positively the most overlooked thing in the NFL. When you've got a center that can read defenses, read packages, read blitzes, and inform his quarterback of what's coming, that is invaluable in the growth of your quarterback. If you added Tyler Linderbaum to the Chicago Bears, if you added Tyler Linderbaum to wherever Malik Willis ends up, if you added Tyler Linderbaum, hell, to the Green Bay Packers so that Jordan Love could finally read a blitz, that would make them that much better. Tyler Linderbaum is in tier 1, and Tyler Linderbaum will stay in tier 1. I will not allow the offensive line slander on this show.
Is that why Jason Kelce retired? The architect of the tush push, the Hall of Fame center. He retires and the Eagles win a Super Bowl the year after. Oh, how could they ever?
He retires and the Eagles' offense has not been the same since.
They
and their
won
offensive
a
line
Super
has not
Bowl
been
the
the
year
same
after
since.
he retired.